sad in retrospect. Hindsight's 2020. I'm sad that I wasn't more hard on Ace and Peter, the two original guys who played guitar and drums in the band.
The world of rock has gone silent, but not for long. On October 16th, 2025, the unthinkable happened. Ace Frehley, the legendary Spaceman of Kiss, took his final bow. The man who made guitars scream and stages burn passed away at 74, leaving a silence no amplifier could fill. Within hours, radio stations across America echoed his anthems: Shock Me, New York Groove, Cold Gin, and fans everywhere broke down. But what happened next left the entire world speechless. At Ace Frehley's funeral, Gene Simmons took the stage and delivered one of the most powerful, emotional tributes in rock history. This is the story that brought the gods of rock to their knees. The memorial service was small and private, held quietly in his hometown in New Jersey. Inside the chapel, a large portrait of Ace Frehley in his silver spaceman costume stood above his favorite Les Paul guitar, the same one he used during the Kiss reunion tour. Among those in attendance was Gene Simmons, walking slowly toward the podium. The crowd went silent as he began his eulogy. Ace was the first man who could make a guitar laugh and cry. No one can ever replace that energy. His voice broke as he finished, and the room fell into deep silence. Next came Paul Stanley, his voice heavy with emotion. We were different, but music kept us in the same world. For a moment, all the fire, the drama, the years of tension between the band members faded away. It wasn't about Kiss anymore. It was about brotherhood, about saying goodbye to the man who gave their sound its soul. Later that evening, Gene Simmons posted a simple message on his social media. Goodbye, Spaceman. Two words that spread across the world like a final cosmic echo. Tributes, murals, hashtags, from New York to Tokyo. Every corner of rock united for the man who made their guitars sing. To understand Ace Frehley's magic, we have to go back to where it all began. The Bronx, New York City. Born to a working-class family, Ace grew up surrounded by the hum of city life and the rhythm of determination. He didn't have fancy guitars or teachers. He had passion. As a teenager, he borrowed a beat-up guitar from a relative and spent countless nights locked in his room, playing along to the Rolling Stones and Jimi Hendrix. His fingers bled, but his heart soared. That's where the spark began. The unique sound that would one day define his name. In 1972, an audition changed his life forever. A tall, quiet man with mismatched sneakers walked into a Manhattan studio carrying his guitar. Inside were Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, and Peter Criss. The chemistry was instant. They shared one goal: to create a band louder, bolder, and bigger than anything the world had ever seen. From that moment, Kiss was born. Ace created his alter ego, the Spaceman, a symbol of freedom, adventure, and rebellion. He was the first to use light, smoke, and sparks on stage. When he played, the crowd didn't just listen. They felt it. As Kiss rose from smoky clubs to roaring stadiums, Ace Frehley's electric solos became the heartbeat of the band. Every note he played carried both chaos and beauty, an untamed mix that defined an era. While Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley were the recognizable faces of Kiss, Ace was its pulse, the living current that gave the group its unmistakable sound. One American magazine once wrote, "If Kiss were a planet, Ace would be the energy that keeps it spinning." And they were right. He didn't just play music. He transformed it into an experience, something raw and larger than life. In 1977, Ace Frehley was nearly killed when he was electrocuted on stage. Instead of quitting, he turned the scare into creative fire. Back home, he wrote "Shock Me," a defiant anthem proving no jolt could stop him. Driven by instinct and emotion, that raw survival spirit became his musical identity forever. In the studio, Ace was a fearless innovator. He flipped sound frequencies, layered effects, and pushed every boundary. Engineers described his tone as explosive in the air. But with fame came friction. Simmons was the businessman, Ace the artist. One wanted control, the other craved freedom. By Dynasty and Unmasked, he was recording alone, isolated but unbroken. In 1982, after finishing The Elder, Ace quietly left Kiss. No spectacle, no spotlight, just silence. Yet in that silence, the Spaceman was reborn. He launched Frehley's Comet, a hard rock powerhouse that reignited his fire. Songs like Rock Soldiers reminded the world that Ace didn't need makeup or marketing, only music. As he once said, real music doesn't need a brand to survive. Then, in the mid-1990s, fate brought them together again. The Kiss Reunion Tour. All 4 original members on one stage for the first time in over a decade. It was history in motion. Every show sold out. The roar of the crowd was deafening. And when Ace Frehley walked out in his shimmering suit, with smoke swirling around him and a guitar in hand, the world stood still. It was a moment that reminded everyone why they fell in love with rock in the first place. The reunion became one of the highest-grossing tours in history, but Harmony was short-lived. He focused on his own projects, choosing peace over chaos. Yet, despite the distance, mutual respect remained. In an interview years later, Gene Simmons said, "We had our fights, but Ace gave Kiss its identity. Without him, our story would be different." Those words would echo again years later, at his funeral. Critics agreed that Ace's departure didn't end his story. It gave him freedom. He was never just the man who left Kiss. He was the man who expanded it. In his later years, Ace Frehley continued to record tirelessly. His manager confirmed that before his death, he had completed nearly 80% of a new album titled Beyond the Lights, a project many called his most passionate work in decades. In one of his last interviews, Ace said, "I've lived my whole life in electric sounds and black smoke, but every time I stand on stage, I still feel like I'm just beginning." That quote became the essence of his life, the eternal beginning of a man who never stopped chasing music. After his passing, tributes flooded the airwaves. Across the US and Europe, stations replayed old interviews where Ace spoke about his love for music and the fans who kept him alive through every battle. Young guitarists picked up their instruments and played his riffs, whispering his final message, "Fly high, Spaceman." His influence was more than technical. It was spiritual. He taught the world that emotion mattered more than perfection. One engineer once said, "Ace could play a note wrong, but we'd keep it because there was soul in it." Artists like Dave Grohl and Tom Morello often cited Ace as a source of inspiration. His fearless experimentation paved the way for hard rock and glam metal in the 1980s. His albums became unofficial textbooks for young guitarists. In 2026, a limited edition AF-01 Fly High Spaceman guitar was released, selling out within hours. His image appeared in movies, video games, and exhibitions, a symbol not just of music, but of creative freedom. But the most beautiful part of his legacy came from his heart. After his death, his family and friends established the Frehley Foundation for Music Youth, helping underprivileged kids learn to play instruments. Gene Simmons made the first donation, saying, "If Ace were here, he'd want to see those kids holding guitars." Since then, the foundation has helped hundreds of young musicians every year, spreading the same joy that Ace once felt the first time he strummed a string. The final public image of Ace Frehley wasn't one of a rock god on stage. It was a man sitting quietly in his small studio, smiling beside his old guitar. No makeup, no lights, no crowd. Just a musician who still loved the sound of a chord ringing true. In his last interview, he said softly, "Every sound I make comes from real emotion. When you play from the heart, people hear it." Those words became his final message to the world. Ace Frehley wasn't just a guitarist. He was a reminder that real music doesn't fade. It evolves, it breathes, it lives on through those who feel it. The Spaceman may have left the stage, but his sound still burns in the hearts of millions. His riffs, his energy, his laughter. They echo through every amplifier and every record that bears his name. Legends like him don't die. They travel beyond the lights. If you've ever felt the fire of a Kiss solo or the soul of Ace Frehley's guitar, keep his spirit alive. Like, share, and leave a heart for the Spaceman. Because legends don't fade. They echo through time, lighting the sky with every note they ever played. Thanks for watching.